It does, it does. It makes them all feel so loved. So yeah, I mean, you have to be tough. You have to be tough. You have to be good. You have to be gentle, but you have to be tough.
Well, and let's talk about you having to be tough. And I've had to talk to you after many night meetings that you've come back, especially in those early days. And let's just be frank: the names you were called, the whispers behind your back, the things that you probably wanted to have happen but didn't because they didn't want to have you get any victories. Do you want to talk a little bit about sort of the personal cost this has been over the years?
Well, yeah, I mean, certainly the first personal cost is when they found out that I was a lesbian and fired me from my job. That was really a profoundly painful experience for me because it was a fulfillment of my fantasy about what would happen if anybody ever found out. This was many years, and I was just coming out of graduate school. And so I had to go through that whole struggle of feeling like, boy, I'm really awful, because I had a program that was getting rewards for kids. I'd gotten the probation department to bring their naughty kids to the place where I was working to work with our kids. And the reason being, it seemed to me more sensible to have them working with our kids than going to jail because they wore bare feet to school or didn't wear a belt or some, horrible crime. And so I had all these kids that work. Well, when I got fired, of course, that particular program was gone. They canceled that program right away. And it made me very sad because it was certainly a better place for young teenagers to be than to be in juvenile hall. And I wish there were places like that for them today. So, yeah, those are some of the good things that happened. I don't know, I thought to myself once, well, I didn't exactly have a happy household, and people weren't very nice in my household. I could put up with anything. I mean, it was a good training ground. So I actually was able to tolerate a whole lot of stuff. It didn't hurt me as much. I think one of the things that happened when some of you may remember Senator Alquist, who Ken and I were at a dinner for NWPC, which is the National Women's Political Caucus. And we went to him and asked him to support AB1. And he whipped around on us in this he was a big guy, and he looked at Ken mostly and said, well, as long as those men keep going to the bathrooms and doing the disgusting things they do, I will never support them. So I thought, oh my God. So anyway, I was mad. So I wrote him a letter, a stinging letter, and talked to him about your history as a labor person, your history as a senator. You have always talked about being a man that was out for the good of the damaged ones. And I said, and shame on you for not voting on this because it really hurts kids. So I get this call on the telephone, and it's one of his mentors, or one of his people, and she says, Wiggsy, can you come and meet with me? I thought, oh, now what? Okay. So I went over and met with her, and she said, Al's very unhappy about your letter. And I said, well, it was not intended to be sweet. And she said, could you write him a letter of apology? And I thought to myself, my first inclination was to say, are you kidding me? But I said, okay, because this is politics. When I see what's going on, if we don't sit down and try to figure out how to embrace our enemy, we'll never get anywhere. So I sat down, I wrote him a letter on the Baymex stationery, and I did apologize, but I explained to him, you can't treat kids like this. You have a reputation as a senator that's, outstanding, and why would you do this? Anyway, I get another call. Wiggsy, can you come and talk to me? And I'm going, oh, now what? So she says to me, Senator Al loved your letter. Could you write another one? And I thought, oh, okay. I hate to write letters. Anyway, I said, okay. So I went home, and on my personal stationery, I wrote him another letter, again apologizing, saying to him, you need to be on our side. You know, you need to, you know, pay attention to kids. It's hard about kids. And so pretty soon, I guess he got the letter. You know, the person who had called me said, well, he has both letters and they're in his sock drawer. I said, well, you can read that two different ways. But I was at the university one day and I got a call from the front office, said there's a Senator Alquist on the telephone. I said, oh, now what? He wants another letter? Yeah. So I answered the telephone. He said, Wiggsy? And he's very gruff. He's a big guy, gruff voice. I said, yeah, hi, Senator, how are you? And he says, I'm fine. He said, I want you to be my date for the Baymack dinner. I said, you know, Senator, I don't do boys. He said, it's okay. It's okay. So I actually was his date for the Baymack dinner. And from that time on until he really got to the point where he was no longer able to come out, I used to go once a month and have lunch with him. And he got quite elderly and difficult. It was difficult with understanding. I'd sit there for an hour listening to him talk, but I couldn't understand a word he was saying. I would smile appropriately. And, you know, and we would do it again the next month. You know, I became quite fond of him because it does show people can change. And he voted for us, you know, and supported us until the day he left.